Soul Sparks with Saima, the soulmate strategy here. Today's guest, Albert Bramante, blends hypnosis, NLP, psychology, and spirit to help creators, educators, and performers break through inner blocks and reclaim their voice. As the author of Rise Above the Script, he guides us through the powerful intersection of subconscious healing and soulful transformation. So, if you have ever felt stuck in your own story, this episode will help you rewrite it with purpose. So, Albert, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here and honored to be a guest today.
Oh, so am I, Albert. It's my pleasure to have you here. Albert, your journey spans Broadway to the classroom, yet it all seems rooted in helping people transcend fear. So I'm really curious to know that what first led you to combine spirituality with psychology and performance.
I, it's interesting because I grew up in a traditional Catholic family, non-practicing though, and but I was always had a spiritual side to me. I've always had a natural drive towards spirituality, and it does blend well because, especially with psychology, because spirituality often gives us a roadmap to live our best lives and to also deal with both, the great things that happen to us as well as the most challenging aspects of our lives. So, in a sense, it really helps give us insight into like the human condition and just in life in general.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's really powerful to hear that how those threads of spirituality, psychology, and performance aren't just disciplines you practice but really a lived experience for you, and the way you have integrated them reveals a kind of inner architecture, one that supports not only your work but the transformation of others as well, right?
Absolutely, and it's really a powerful transformative tool, and it can really, we can transform ourselves as well as we can, be a part of the transformation of others, which I think is very
Mm-hmm.
powerful.
Yes, absolutely, that turning point resonates. Yes. Now, you say that, our internal scripts often manifest physically. So, how does subconscious belief tie into symptoms in the body?
Well, the mind, a lot of some people, I think, in the most conventional world, think that the mind and body are separate, but they're interconnected. So, what winds up happening is, and I'll get a little neuroscience here. When we're stressed out, our body is our brain and mind is preparing the body for fight or flight. So what happens is there's a chemical in our body called cortisol, as we know. And when cortisol is activated, it puts us in the fight or flight mode because, thousands of years ago, when we were in dangerous situations, we either had to run for our lives or fight for our lives. And the cortisol was there to do that, to help, give the adrenaline and to really help spring the body into action. Now, most of these primitive dangers aren't existing at the moment in their lifetime, which is fortunate, of course. However, the brain still may be more on the primitive side, at least on an operational standpoint. So when we have this rush of cortisol, it starts to break down our body because it's tough. It's a stress. It raises adrenaline, and of course, there's a cost to that. And over time, constant stress, constant anxiety, constant worry can start wearing down the body and the immune system. This is why people with a lot of stress develop ulcers or develop cardiovascular issues, high blood pressure. There's a whole host of symptoms that can happen, gastrointestinal issues, including like irritable bowel syndrome, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really affects the physiology of the body, stress.
Mm-hmm. The way you describe, the body as almost a storyteller of our inner world brings such clarity, Albert, I must say. And it's one thing to like intellectually understand that our thoughts influence us, but hearing how deeply those subconscious beliefs can like root themselves physically really reframes the whole mind body connection, and that's incredibly illuminating.
Yeah, it really is. There's a this is a big word, but there's a field, a subfield in psychology called psychoneuroimmunology, which is really, again, how the immune system and psychology work together. So think about it like when people are really stressed out a lot and they're maybe they got a lot on their plate and they're working so hard, or they just got a lot of work, a lot of things that are on their mind, you could
Hmm.
often find that you're worrying yourself sick, literally, to a point where you get a cold or a flu, because what you're doing is you're lowering the response to the immune system, so it's not as powerful as it would be on a normal day when a lot of stress can wear down the immune system, and so therefore you're more susceptible for colds and for other infections.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Albert, I must say. So, like, how do tools like hypnosis actually help release what's trapped inside?
So what the main thing is, you brought up a key question. Trapped inside, it has to come out. So sometimes our normal response is a defense mechanism. So keep the stuff that's very painful or hard to deal with. Let's keep that buried inside. And that's what the mind does. And it does a great job of protecting us. However, if we keep it buried inside, that's when we're going to start to see problems. So sometimes with hypnosis and NLP, we can kind of tap into the inner world and release that, whatever it is that you're holding on to. In a sense, we can help release that, and so that you're no longer burdened or affected by that anymore.
That's that's such a powerful way to put it, Albert. Like, what's outside must come. Sorry, what's inside may come outside, and there's a kind of truth in that simplicity that really lands. And I think that it speaks to the idea that like healing isn't about fixing something broken, but about like allowing to what's already within us, often buried or suppressed, to be acknowledged, expressed, and ultimately released, right?
Yes, and I totally agree. We're not trying to heal something broken because that would signify you're broken, and who wants to really admit that? So, what we can say is let's enhance what you have. Let's tweak it, and so that you can use like the same energy that you have towards that's maybe holding you down and or putting like in a negative state because of the stress. Let's use that energy and help you transform and help you, let it work for you in your favor rather than against you, and rather than at your detriment.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, your framing makes the process of something like hypnosis feel much less clinical and much more human. It's not about control or manipulation, but about, creating enough safety for the truth to rise to the surface and let go. That's a deeply respectful and liberating perspective.
Yes, absolutely, and that's really what is important to understand when it comes to hypnosis. A lot of times, because we see on TV or in the movies, and hypnosis is kind of negatively framed as mind control. What the truth of the matter is, it's just a heightened state of focus. It's a heightened state of clarity. So think about when you're watching a movie, you get so engrossed or caught in the movie, or reading a book and you get so caught up in the book, or you're having a conversation with someone and you just get so drawn up in a conversation that you're nothing. You're not even aware of what's going around you. That is sort of what a hypnotic state is. And so when people say like, "Oh, I've never been in hypnosis, I can't be hypnotized," that's not accurate because we do that. We go into this state all the time.
I agree. I agree. Now, let's talk about confidence, not the loud performative kind, but soul deep connection. So, I'm really curious to know from you that what spiritual truths help people move from imposter syndrome to true inner alignment.
Well, the first step is knowledge, and just to know that this is what's happening. And again, I often talk about when I talk about imposter syndrome, which is again the textbook definition of feeling like a fraud or feeling that you're going to be found out. What I like to say is instead of getting rid of imposter syndrome because it's part of your growth, is to let's work with it and let's help you become more humble. I mean, that's again, as humble human beings, we can certainly celebrate the successes and praise and pat ourselves in the back, but there's also the reality of that we are a work in progress. So we're always going to be learning. We're always going to be learning new things. We're always going to be elevating ourselves. So what we want to do is use this, this again, this potential for growth, and say, okay, I'm going to become a better person today. So maybe, if you're starting to maybe beat doubt yourself, like I'm weak in this area, I'm weak in that area, or I'm letting this bother me. So then that's great. Now take a moment, take some time, take some stock into creating situations where you can become better in that. What's the best way to, simply ask yourself, what's the best way to overcome that? What's the best way to deal with that? What can I do differently? You just look at what needs to be improved on. Now, we're, we can still celebrate and honor our successes and honor our achievements, but also at the same time, what can I do better? What can I do differently the next time and the next time? And therefore, it's like we start to go, okay, I'm going to celebrate where I am now, but I'm still can grow and be better tomorrow and the next month, and so on and so on.
Such a profound shift, Albert. I mean, to move from resisting imposter syndrome to actually partnering with it, there's so much wisdom in that. And instead of treating it as a flaw or something to be fixed, you're inviting people to see it as a doorway, one that can lead them deeper into honesty, humility, and like ultimately authenticity. It really reframes the whole narrative of confidence.
Exactly, and there's a key word that you just mentioned: authenticity, and that's what helps us develop the connect alignments with ourselves, but also with other people, because that's what we crave when we're meeting and connecting with people, is for people to be authentic.
Hmm. Yes, that's a wonderful reminder. It's both, comforting and empowering in the best way.
Mhm.
Now, how can someone begin building that today, especially if their environment doesn't affirm their worth?
Well, there's small steps that you can take because even if the environment may not be optimal, there are steps that you can take to make the optimal, like give it the best that you can regarding the circumstance you're in now. So the first thing would be, making the effort to change and making the effort to implement things. So maybe doing something differently, going to a networking event, putting yourself out there is great. Getting around, doing some movement, getting outside the house and walking a little bit. And then also associating yourself with more high achieving people. And whether that's physically or even virtually, like we could do that virtually by like consuming their content, listen to their podcasts, read their books, and just start really surrounding yourself with more successful people in your industry.
That's so
Mm.
beautifully said, Albert. I mean, And I feel that what really stands out is a reminder that even when our external environment doesn't reflect our worth, we can still cultivate it from within. And it's not easy, especially when the world feels like it's telling you a different story, but hearing how it's possible to begin, even in small, consistent ways, that brings hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, there's a lot of things that are maybe tearing you apart, but the thing is that you're just getting better over time with it.
Hmm.
You're getting time with things. So, and just being patient with yourself too.
Yes. And I really appreciate that you didn't sugarcoat the process.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, it's a process, and it's a daily practice, and it's a daily process. And also, a big thing that really is important in this type of work is have compassion for yourself
Hmm.
and be gentle. That it's when you're working to change, it's not going to be an overnight change. It's not going to be instant. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of work to do that.
Yes, that's the heart of it. Now, in your work with AI and content creation, how do you see tech supporting, not, replacing our spiritual and emotional growth?
Well, the one thing that AI will never replace humans. That's my strongest viewpoint there. I don't. I'm not convinced yet that AI is going to replace human beings. What I am convinced that it can help us. It can be a tool for our spiritual fulfillment. Maybe it'll give us solutions to problems that we have or questions that we're facing with, or at least ideas to consider or ideas to brainstorm with. So,
Hmm.
and we can use that by creating content that resonates with our audience and finding what the best needs of our audience are. What are their pain points? What are the um, points of things that resonates with them?
Hmm. That's that's again a grounded way to frame it. Like AI not as a replacement for human depth, but as a mirror or amplifier for it. And the way you describe it, Albert, it's not about outsourcing our growth, but enhancing our access to insight, reflection, and even healing when used with intention, right?
Absolutely, and that's the word thing. You just have to have good intention when using this type of work. Intention is like really the key here.
Mm-hmm. Absolute. Now, what's one mindful way a coach can or creative, can use AI today to stay aligned with scaling impact?
Well, AI can help us with like copy, social media, copy, ideas for writing blog posts and articles that can really gain us visibility. It can also help us automate processes so that you can spend more time as a thought leader and putting the work out there because other stuff will be automated. So it can definitely be a time saver and also a great brainstorming assistant.
That's that's a practical take. And what I love about your response is that, it centers intention over automation. So often when people think about scaling, especially with tools like AI, it becomes about speed and output, but the way you frame it, it's about alignment first, using AI not to distance ourselves from our voice or values, but to actually deepen our connection to them while expanding reach.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing is just work to expanding our reach that we may not normally be able to reach. And that can definitely when we do that, it can really help us, reach our impact and scale our impact because that's the real key here is scaling, and it can help us do that by knowing the right time to do, and you can even use it as a brainstorming. Like, when should I post? What platform should I post? This is my target audience. Um, these are my ideal client avatars that I want to reach out to, in a sense.
Yes. And I think that that's going to land deeply with creatives and coaches, who are trying to grow without losing the heart of their work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yes, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Albert Bramante, you reminded us that transformation starts within, whether you are on a stage, in the classroom, or on a healing journey. The real performance is becoming who you truly are. So, listeners, confidence isn't something you fake, it's something you awaken and you script. You have had the pen all along, so go ahead, realize it all.